Hello everyone and thanks for joining today. I am excited to walk you through an interesting war story from the world of computing and engineering. These stories highlight the kinds of challenges that pop up behind the scenes, problems that aren't always obvious but teach us a lot about how real systems behave. They are great examples of how even well-designed plans can hit unexpected obstacles and how a bit of insight and the right algorithm can make all the difference. So let's dive into our story, which shows how parallel computing can go well, not quite as planned. The goal for the problem seemed completely reasonable. Test Warren's conjecture for pyramidal numbers. We had a program that could do the job. Sure, it would take a few weeks, but it would eventually finish. My plan? Let it run quietly in the background, no drama, no fuss. But my colleague, he had a different idea entirely. And this idea involved what else? More power. Always more power. He had access to an Intel hypercube. It had 32 nodes, 16 megabytes of memory per node, a monster at the time. His plan was simple. Parallelize the problem, split the range from 1 to 1 billion into equal chunks and send each chunk to a processor. In theory, this sounds perfect. In practice, things got messy almost immediately. The email cascade started to fall in. First email, one processor died last night, I will rerun. Second email, system rebooted by accident, job was killed. Another email, we can't occupy the whole machine for more than 13 hours. 3 emails in and still no results, only failures and plenty of headaches. Eventually, he waited for the machine to stabilize. Took down 16 processors, all of the entire compute, divided the range into 16 intervals, and launched the job. And instantly became the most unpopular person in the room, because he hooked all of the resources. Other users suddenly couldn't get their work done. Still, he remained confident. The first processor finished its intervals, numbers 1 to 62,500,000. They were problems yet again. So one processor finished the task, then much later another, then even later another, until finally 16 processors were all waiting for one single, painfully slow interval to finish. Half the machines were stuck, many of the users were stuck, and the job itself was stuck. So what are the possible solutions? We have several solutions. The first one, cost modeling. The second one, uneven static partitioning. The third one, dynamic load balancing. And the fourth one, partitioning algorithms. Cost modeling. The first step to solving this problem is cost modeling. Before splitting the work, we need to understand how long each part of the range takes to process. We can test example numbers across the range 110,000 to 1,900,000 and measure how long each one takes. If we do this, we discover that processing time grows as the numbers get larger. This allows us to predict which range of numbers are heavy and which are light. Uneven static partitioning. Once we know the cost, we can create partitions that are not equal in size but equal in expected time. For example, numbers from 1 to 200 million may be cheap to process, so we can assign larger chunks there. Numbers close to 1 billion are expensive, so those chunks must be smaller. This way, each processor gets a workload that finishes at about the same time. Dynamic load balancing. Even better than uneven splitting is dynamic load balancing. Instead of giving each processor one hug chunk, we break the range into many small tasks, maybe a few thousand numbers each. Processors pull tasks from a shared queue. When a processor finishes, it grabs the next available task. Fast processors get more tasks. Slow processors get fewer tasks. No one is stuck waiting on an overload node. This guarantees all processors remain busy until the very end. Partitioning algorithms. Advanced partitioning algorithms can mathematically split the workload so each partition contains equal cost. These algorithms consider the performance curve, estimate the time for each segment, and divide the job so every processor finishes together. This is the ideal approach when the cost model is well understood. So what do you think is the takeaway? Parallel computing only works well if you balance the workload. If your tasks take dramatically different amounts of time, dividing them evenly is not enough. You need smart planning too.